Believe in Kentucky is back. Benny Hardy, Aaron Gershon from the Cat's Paws, bringing you another episode, courtesy of the Believe Podcast Network, BLEAV.com. Y'all like and subscribe and follow and retweet and tell your friends all about us. We definitely appreciate it. Leave a review, leave 5 stars, all that good stuff on Apple Podcasts. Just helps us grow and helps more people find us, and we definitely appreciate it. AG, man, how's everything going? You staying safe and warm and all that?
It is cold as it is in most of our region of the country and even further south than usual, but we're hanging in there, enjoying a little midweek bye here. It's been nice to, as fun as this team is to watch and go cover these games, it's been nice to have a little bit of a reprieve and catch up on some things this week, and we'll get back at it Saturday in Nashville, but it's been a pretty good week.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, man, when Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge it snowed under, man, that's
crazy.
Palm trees getting snowed on, that's
Yeah, no, I saw all the beaches on 30A up in North Florida, Destin area. That's my fiance's family and I. We went on vacation there this summer, and it's all snow covered. It's crazy what's going on.
Yeah, you have to wrap your head around that, man. It's just just two things that just never go together, but here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, you mentioned the bye week, which of course, Cats fans want to see games and hate to see the lulls, but Andrew Carr has to love this because this dude is good out that back, and so some rest is nothing but beneficial for him because he's been fighting through it for a long time, man. Like he's like Larry Bird at the end. Larry Bird's over there laying down and back giving him trouble and trying to gut it out, and that's what he's been doing for several games now.
No question. Yeah, the back is an issue. And honestly, he played pretty darn well against Mississippi State and Texas A&M. He was in double figures in both of those games. I think he got the 8 rebounds in at least one of those contests. So, he really grinded it out and probably gave Kentucky even more than they could have expected in those 2 games. But he really struggled against Alabama. Grant Nelson took advantage immediately. He scored 10 points in the game's first 6 minutes. And Kentucky, wisely, they should have done it earlier, made the switch in the second half, and they put Amari Williams or Brandon Garrison, depending who was on the court, on him, and he only scored 6 points in the second half. So, Nelson, already a terrific player, veteran player, knows he's dealing with a beat-up Andrew Carr, who already has some defensive limitations. He's obviously a stronger offensive player than he is defensive, but not a bad defensive player, just not a defensive ace by any means. But then you take into account he has a bad back, mismatch there. So Carr's beat up, and Lamont Butler, who we've seen take hit after hit this year, that A&M game, man, he got the crap kicked out of him, and he just kept getting up and up and up and fought and finished that game, and was a really just terrific effort and wildly exceeded expectations. I thought he might have been done for the game when he initially got hurt, stayed in there, went down again, came back in. So that dude just refused to quit, and he was awesome. And you could see it in warmups. He was a little uncomfortable, and there are times during the game where he's kind of holding that shoulder up. And what I know he made some questionable decisions at the end. He kind of, when it was pretty much over, but not quite over, he kind of dribbled into no man's land, took a lot of time, took a bad 3. He rushed up a 3 in the 9-0 run. So, and then he had a bad turnover in the 9-0 run by Bama that ultimately won them the game. But he also finished with 17 points and an 8-to-1 assist turnover ratio with barely being able to lift his shoulder up. So super impressive stuff from him. Andrew Carr, need him to get healthy, get him rested up. And, I'm curious to see if he's not 100%, if they push it for this Vandy game. Not to say Vandy's, way improved from last season. They already surpassed their win total from last season. They obviously beat a very good Tennessee team last weekend. I watched part of their game with Bama, and every time I watched it, Vandy was on a run. So I think they ended up losing 103-87, but 1, Bama's really, really good, and 2, it was good to see from Vandy's standpoint they were able to compete with them at times. So that's a dangerous team. But the reason I say I wonder what they'll do is Vandy's tallest guy is 6'9", so they're not a very long team. this could be a game where playing small would work. And that's assuming Lamont Butler's healthy and you still have an 8 to 9 man rotation if Lamont's able to go. But with Vandy, their tallest guy being 6'9", they're in the 180s and rebounding, and offensive rebounding, they're in like the 140s. So they're not an elite rebounding team. They're not very big. I just wonder if maybe, just maybe, if he's not 100%, you don't push it. And because against Tennessee, if you don't have Andrew Carr against Tennessee, you don't like your chances too much, because Tennessee is excellent in the paint, and they're tough to stop down there, and they're tough to score on down there. And you want to have your best post presence available. So we shall see what they do with Andrew Carr. But the bye week, I think this is the first week of bye weeks, and Kentucky was lucky they drew it this week because they need it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, came at a good time for them for sure. Yeah, it's that Vanderbilt. It's always tricky down there. They always, no matter how good or bad they are, they always play tough down there.
Yeah, they're well coached now. I mean, this coach they brought in from JMU last year, I think they went like 32-4. And I know they won an NCAA tournament game. I think they kicked the crap out of Wisconsin in the first round, and then they lost to Duke in the second round. But they have a winning culture there. Even more of a rebuild than Calipari and Pope in a set. Actually, I guess the same as Pope, because technically Travis Perry was someone he had to re-recruit, but same idea where they completely had to overhaul that roster. There's not a single scholarship guy from Vanderbilt last season who's back. There's not a single coach that's back. They've completely redone that thing in this league. And right now, in the latest bracketology from Joe Lunardi, they're in the last 4 byes. So they're safely in the NCAA tournament. If the season ends today, they're ranked 37 in the net. 37 in the net. So they're a couple big wins away from when they come to Lexington, that still being a quad 1. So you can't speak enough on what they're doing. They're really impressive. It's a game not to take lightly. But the reason I mentioned that with Carr again is because they're small. I mean, 6'9" is their tallest player, and their leading rebounder, Devin McLaughlin, is a transfer from Boston College. He had for people who watched them play South Carolina last week, he's the one who hit that layup or put back. I forget exactly what it was at the buzzer, or with 0.6 of a second left to win the game. He's their leading rebounder and leader in blocks, and he's 6'7". So they're just not the tallest team. They play small. They play fast. They're 47th in tempo. I just wonder if that's a game where, if Carr is not right, you just say, let's wait for Tuesday, because they'll need him in Knoxville.
Yeah, it's Ole Miss just got choked out last night by Tennessee. They couldn't do anything. State, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I said Ole Miss. Yeah, Mississippi State. They couldn't do anything. Just got smothered. It was 30-16 or whatever at halftime, and just it was over before it started. And
this Vanderbilt team put 41 on Tennessee in the first half. Now the second half kind of fell back to the norm, but to speak on how dangerous both teams are, we know what Tennessee can do and smother teams. We saw what they did to Arkansas, though everyone's kind of doing that to Arkansas. But I'm trying to think, there's another game in there Tennessee just smothered a quality team. But so they went on the road and beat Illinois this year. They're very good. And then Vandy torched them for a half.
Yeah. Georgia's 7, Arkansas 4. Georgia should probably be pulling away because
could happen.
I mean, they're just wasting possessions. Arkansas's not got the firepower, and they just
hard to win on the road still.
That's true.
With down bad Arkansas.
That's true. And we'll get to that in the coming days. Next week will be leading up to Arkansas. Yeah, we'll have the Hawk Talk guys on. At least one that we had on. We did a crossover for baseball. We get Porter back on here and let's get things from their perspective, because look, I think even we knew what they were getting, but I think it's even worse than we thought it would have been for them. We knew they were getting a guy that struggled in the tournament, the St. Peter's, Oakland, but I don't think any of us saw this 0-5
Yeah.
start
You
in
could
the conference.
you could have told me they were gonna have a down year and even make a case they'd like be a bubble team or
Yeah.
when you're on the bubble. Either way, make it, don't make it. I could have saw that just because I didn't. The 9 guy thing threw me off, and unfortunately, Boogie Flane got hurt, and their depth is going to be tested the rest of the way. And I didn't want that to happen. Of course, I never want to see anyone get hurt. But when you only bring in 9 scholarship guys, you leave yourself open to that. That's why
Yeah.
you got to love what Mark Pope did, and he's got 12 guys who all of them are play. I don't think there's a player in Kentucky's roster not playable. I actually think if anyone, I think the least ready is Colin Chandler from what I've seen. I think even though Trent Noah's played the least, when he's gone in there, he's looked completely comfortable and giving them quality minutes. Travis Berry looks more comfortable each and every day. But again, Kentucky has 11 to 12 guys that you are comfortable playing, which means if Andrew Carr can't go on Saturday or Tuesday or Lamont, hopefully not, but if Lamont Butler can't go, you have guys who you can plug in and fill at least some spots in the rotation. Obviously, you're going to need extra minutes from certain guys, but it's not going to be a complete overhaul. When you're down to 8 guys and then someone gets into foul trouble or you get another injury, it's just you leave yourself in a dangerous position. And I think a lot of Arkansas, even I will give credit. I saw some Arkansas fans even this offseason. That was kind of their one qualm, their one thing they were worried about. And it's unfortunately presented itself with Boogie going down likely for the year with that, I think, broken bone in his finger, something like that.
Like Pat Kelsey said, going into the Kentucky game, Kentucky got 2 of everything. They're like Noah and the Art. They got 2 of everything.
Yeah. And Kelsey tried to build depth at early, and they're doing a terrific job, obviously. And they're getting some guys back, but they had like 3 or 4 injuries right off the bat, and then they signed a kid in Khalifa who they knew was redshirting. So I mean, it just you have you have 13 scholarships. Like you don't have to use all 13, but there's no reason to have not. To me, if you don't use 11, it's stupid. That's just me.
Yeah, and
the logic behind it is ridiculous. His logic was he didn't want to develop guys for others to use them. That's just how that's college sports now.
Oh, like if they transferred and he
right.
Well, that was happening in the NBA anyway. He wasn't getting the full potential out of guys pre-portal. So I mean, it's just a different. They're just going to a different place.
There's guys that over the years, even there are guys at Kentucky that before the portal phenomenon transferred. I mean, it's just, to me, that was so silly. I mean, it's the way of college sports in the year 2025. Like you're gonna have guys that transfer out, whether you like it or not, and your job while you're their coach is to develop them. Yeah. And just even if they go and play well elsewhere, that's okay. Be happy for them. Like it's just it doesn't make any sense for me. And again, like who's the player that Kentucky had that went to Michigan ended up being really good there?
Charles Matthews,
right? So you're gonna tell him like, or Quade Green? I know he didn't play great at Washington, but guys like that. Well, that was before the portal era, transferred in and did other things. Obviously early transfer before it went crazy with the portal. Keon Brooks, like what are you going to tell him? He went and became a all Pac-12 guy last year, and he's making money now. Like it's ridiculous. That was such a lame excuse of a reason not to use at least 11 scholarships. And again, even here, I forgot what he got to. I think they used 11 last year, but it was only because they added Jordan Burks and Joey Hart. And no offense to those 2 guys, but they were 3-star throw-ins to the roster and then Trey Mitchell or Coach Huggins getting a DUI saved their bacon because Trey Mitchell hits the portal in June because he was allowed to. So like they would have been screwed if that didn't happen last year. He got lucky. So
he was getting criticism.
Didn't have to happen this
year. He was getting criticism here, and then he took it to a whole other level in Arkansas.
Kentucky would have had a very similar season to what Arkansas is having. I think it would have been better because he had Reed and Rob and Antonio, which they're all better players than anyone on Arkansas's roster right now. But Yeah, Trey Mitchell saved that team.
Yeah. And then he kind of wore down and got hurt. Was it his shoulder? He hurt or back?
Back, shoulder, yeah.
He got banged up there towards the end, and
he didn't look himself until the Oakland game, and it was too late.
Yeah. So Georgia's pulling away 15-8. So it is what it is.
I'll tell you what though, like they're going to come in and play their best all year next Saturday. That's going to be their Super Bowl because
a do will be a problem.
A do will be a problem. Janelle's going to have the best shooting night of the season. It's just going to happen. It's just Cal is going to have the look. I would like to think they can beat Oklahoma at home. I mean, we'll see. But hypothetically, just for argument's sake or conversation here, if they go 0-7 in the SEC coming into Lexington, I almost if you're a Kentucky fan, you almost rather them get a win and get the monkey off their back. I think
you don't want the pressure of
0-7, like because if they're 0-7, Cal could be like, look, we're done. Like this season, we're probably not making the NCAA tournament. Just go have fun. No one's expects you to win this game, but if we win it, think of all the crap, BBM, whatever. He has all the motivation. If he has lost his fastball motivating his team, he doesn't even need a fastball to motivate his team for next week.
Yeah,
he needs defense. So let's see.
And Davis could. Well, you're a baseball guy.
He's gonna have his best. Mark it down. 25 points.
He's due, as they say in baseball.
It's happening. 25 points from John L. Davis.
Oh man, unbelievable. Yeah. So, Vanderbilt. We talked about that. Alabama. They're just better. They just, they got, they're just, they beat us in their own game. I think you wrote that, and Mark Pope said,
wants to be Alabama.
Yeah.
That's what they're striving towards in a lot of ways. Yeah, look, I mean, first of all, Alabama, like you said, they're supposed to be better this year, right? I mean, they brought back their two best players from their Final Four team last year. Mark Sears, who finished second or third in the SEC Player of the Year voting, and Grant Nelson, who I know was struggling a little bit coming into this game, but again, he got to take advantage of a beat up Andrew Carr, and Kentucky and Mark Pope were too late to make the adjustment, which is preventable. They reloaded and they brought back role guys like Diabate and there's another one they brought back, but they go in the portal and they add Youngblood and they add Holloway and they sign a Phylon, the 4-star freshman. And it's just a loaded roster. I think they came into the year ranked number 2 or 3 in the AP poll, and they were expected to do this. And they're coming off a game where they weren't themselves. Ole Miss punched them in the mouth in Tuscaloosa, and usually the really, really good teams in college basketball, you never really see those losing streaks. And Alabama was very determined. And Kentucky, I think they ended up leading that game for like 20-something minutes. So they hung with them plenty, and they had their chances, and that's what made it frustrating. I mean, you tied at 81, and then you immediately give up a 9-0 run. That was completely preventable because you had a turnover and 2 rush shots in your offensive possessions during that. And then on the defensive end, you blocked 2 shots. Alabama beats you to the loose ball on those blocks, and then both times they get kicked out for 3s. So it was just, look, Alabama was a very hungry team, and they came in and they got the win at Rupp. And you can tell it hurt Mark Pope's soul. Like he takes losing very, very personally. I think one of the, not to keep bringing up Cal, but one of the things that fans were frustrated with is after the losses over the years, even against Oakland in recent years, that is, he could just see it didn't really bother him. It didn't eat at his soul. You could see it after every loss with Mark Pope, but this one more so than any of them so far yet. And I think that's because it came at Rupp. He only lost, not counting his redshirt year, he only lost 1 game as a player at Rupp. So it already matches his total, which he's going to lose more as a coach than he is a player because it's going to be a little longer. But regardless, Alabama's a very, very good team. I mean, they're only at one loss in the conference. They're the favorite to win the conference. They're in position to do that early on here. I think only Auburn's still undefeated, and we'll see. I think they play in 2 weeks. I don't know if Jani Broom's going to be back for that one yet. I just can't see them beating Alabama without Jani Broom. So they very well could win another SEC regular season title. They're a very, very good team, and you get another crack at them in Tuscaloosa. We'll see maybe a month if this team just still getting there and proves it. And really, again, the only thing that worries me with this team now, because I still think they're on the right track on the glass. I know they ended up giving up 15 boards, but they kind of made that in-game adjustment where the second half they only gave up like 4 or 5, and it looked a lot crisper there. The offense is on nearly every night. It's consistently awesome. It's just, can they get enough stops? I saw a stat, but actually they were pretty good in the Alabama game guarding layups and guarding twos, but they were giving up like 57% of layups and twos, and they were struggling with their defense in the paint. That's something that has to get addressed because easy baskets are killer. They've given up 200 burgers at Rupp. That's not ideal. They're like 290th in the country and scoring defense. They're in the 70s or 80s in Ken Palm defensive efficiency. So they have a lot to shore up defensively, but part of it's the style they play. We saw it last year where when you go really quick and you put up a lot of points, and you see it with Alabama too. They're the only team in the SEC that gives up more points than Kentucky. It's really hard to be elite at both. Florida this year has been, surprisingly, but last year they were terrible defensively. I think they ended up worse than Kentucky defensively, and that they lost an NCAA tournament game 103-100 as a result. So I am worried about the defense. They got to figure out some answers there. This will be, I think it's a really pivotal stretch, these 2 games, even if you don't win them both. Tennessee shouldn't be able to put 80 or 90 on you. They're just not built to do that. I mean, if Chaz Lanier goes off and scores 40, or 30, it could happen, but you don't want to see that game. If they lose, you would think it's they got outgrinded, right? They got out physically.
It looks like that's you don't see Tennessee being able to play up and down. They just can't score.
Yeah, like Ohio. I don't like that Ohio State was able to score in the 80s against Kentucky, and there were a lot of free throws in there. And the fouling, that's another thing too. And everyone's like, "Oh, the refs." That Alabama game, I thought, was actually the best officiated SEC game Kentucky's played in this year. Did they miss a couple things? Did they call a couple ticky-tack things? Sure. Of the 5 games they played in the SEC, that was the best officiated, in my opinion, and they got called for a lot of fouls they rightfully committed. And I think Mark Pope is biting his tongue at certain things with the media, but I don't think he's joking about learn the whistle and learning to play without fouling. I think that's legitimately a work in progress and an issue this team has. So, and a lot of those high totals are because they're giving up a crap ton of free throws. So if this team can, one thing that I've really liked about this team is every time there's been an issue, they've been really quick to fix it and have kind of taken it personally. The physicality thing. Jackson Robinson made the comment like, "Oh, we're not going to be called soft in this jersey." They fixed that really quick. The rebounding, they've both times it became an issue. They've been quick to adjust. They've gotten the 3-point volume closer to where they want it to be. So now the biggest thing is that for me, they've got to lower the amount of fouls, and I think that'll help bring down the scoring and build on what they were able to do defensively in the paint against Bama. Again, they had very low totals percentage-wise compared to the rest of their season at the rim. And so that's a good sign. Amari Williams is playing a lot better defensively. There is a lot to like individually defensively in certain aspects, but collectively it needs to be a lot better.
And I like the fact, like you said, they're very detail-oriented from the top down, Pope to the staff. Intentional, I think, is the word he uses a lot. And you see it, like the wanting to fix something, the wanting to, if there's a problem, address it, work to fix it. They're not the most athletic squad. They're not going to be. But they're looking to maximize and fix and improve every facet of the team that they can.
Right.
They break down everything, like your Lego piece. You pull all the Legos apart,
Autopsies, as they call it.
and then
They call them autopsies, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And then you every little thing, put it back together, piece it all back together. So I think for those of the fan base that was worried about them in the SEC, I don't think you have to worry about them. They can play with anybody. They can, there was that concern. Oh, we need a bucket getter. Oh, the SEC is going to eat us up. I don't know if we're going to hold up. I think you can quit worrying about that. They've shown they can win track meets. They've shown they can kind of win grinding it out with Texas A&M and Mississippi State. They can play physical now. They can go up and down. You saw the game against Florida, the game against Alabama. So, it'll be physical against Tennessee, but they kind of, I think, know what they're getting into now. And they're going to be emphasizing running that offense precisely so it doesn't get, choked out and smothered. So I think we can, because we love as fans just worry about stuff that, whether it's legit or not, Kentucky fans are going to worry about it because a lot of us aren't happy unless we're worried or upset or flustered about something. So the Kentucky can't play, this Pope can't, his style won't hold up in the SEC. We can quit worrying about.
Alabama's won this league 2 out of the past 4 years playing the same style of basketball.
And we're still gonna drop a couple games. They're not gonna run the table. And I'm not saying that, but they're not gonna lose 12 in a row now either.
No, I think this team, I see them going in that 12-6, 11-7 range in the league. And I think in this year, it's year one. Yes. And 2, it's a really good league. I think that's solid. I mean, just, not to play the look ahead game, but we'll do it just for argument's sake here. Vandy, I think they're going to be fine against Vandy this weekend. I think they'll get that win. I'll say they'll lose the one in Knoxville. Okay, so that gets you to 3 conference losses. I just can't see them losing to Arkansas. Ole Miss is tricky. We'll say that's a loss, but I think they'll beat South Carolina. I think at home they'll beat Tennessee. I like a split in that one. Texas is a tough matchup, but that was a team that Mark Pope's offense did really well against last year. I think they could do it again this year. I think they end up sweeping Vanderbilt, probably losing the second one to Bama on the second round, just the way that on the road too. I don't know. Oklahoma doesn't look very good. That should be a winnable game. Auburn, I don't know. That's tough. And then I think they match up fine with LSU and Mizzou. So, in that sense, in that prediction right there, they're 11-7 in the conference. But that puts them overall in the year? They would lose. I don't know exactly what that is. Like
23-9 or something.
Yeah. So that's exactly right. 23-9, which happened to be my preseason projection. I'm just saying. I did have 12. I think I had 12-6 in the league though. So I had them losing to Duke and Gonzaga, but beating Ohio State. So what do I really know? But it's just I did have them lose the Clemson though. But it's a grinder of a league. And if you end up with that, say you end up 11-7 in the league, 23-9, you have all these quad 1 wins that you would get, like all the wins I just pointed out in projections. Missouri would be quad 1. Oklahoma on the road would be quad 1. Vandy on the road would be quad 1. Texas on the road would be quad 1. Any of the ones with Tennessee would be quad 1. That's like 5 more quad 1 wins. You already have 6. That gets you to 11. Like that's a damn strong resume. That's going to get you a 4 to 5, probably a 4 seed, maybe even a sniffing a 3. Like this is not the year to react. Like if they go and lose to Arkansas and they lose to South Carolina, then you could be pissed off and worried.
Yeah.
But if they lose to Ole Miss, who's really good, they go and have a crappy game at Tennessee because they make everyone look crappy down there in Knoxville.
Yeah.
That's just par for the course. This is not a normal SEC.
That's it.
And again, Kentucky's had a quote-unquote bad game, and they scored 97 on Alabama.
Yeah, and he was upset.
11 for 27 from 3 when they said it was like they were confused at times with how Alabama was guarding the 3. They still went 11 for 27 when they put them up.
Absolutely. So, transfer portal, we seems like, you've done some good work, but Will it fit? We don't know, but this.
Yeah, look, they've filled every void you could have asked them to fill, right? I mean, I think the last three guys they picked up were the best, the most important, and best three, besides the quarterback. That starting with Miquez Grace, the defensive end from South Dakota State. That's a guy who's the Missouri Valley is the SEC of the FCS. It's just a star-studded league. In that, I mean, they still send a lot of players to the NFL. They're, I don't know exactly how the FCS playoffs. I forget exactly how many teams make the FCS playoffs, but it's like half the FCS postseason is usually represented by that league. North Dakota State, who's in their conference, that seems like the national championship every year. So, or the national champion every year. So, to get the guy who's the defensive player of the year in that league is really important. And he has the SEC size. I'm sure there'll be an adjustment period, but it's there. And then you get True Edwards, the wide receiver from Louisiana Tech, who's a true X receiver, conference first team all conference in his league, Conference USA this past year, 7th-year senior. So guy that has been around the block, that's for sure. And then you get the left tackle you sorely needed there from New Mexico State. So what I think is most interesting about what they've done, they're going all in on this year. And I don't know if that's right or not, but they are. Because of the 19 transfers they've signed, 11 are entering their final year. So they have 11 one-and-dones coming in, including the quarterback, including the X receiver, including the left tackle, including the left or right guard, whoever they plug in Joshua Braun, including the right tackle, the kid from Bowling Green. So they're banking on the middle linebacker from Landon Watson. They're banking on this being a really good year, and that tells me a couple things. It tells me they feel they just know they can't go 4-8 again, or else they're going to get crucified, and possibly it ends terribly, or they know it's coming to an end and they want to end on a really good note. I just don't think. And look, they also signed 21 freshmen. They have the 2024 class. The early signs are there that it could be a really good class, and they only lost one guy in Caleb Red who barely played to the portal, so they kept almost that entire class in check, sticking around. Willie Rodriguez, the Smith twins, Brian Robinson, Cam Dooley, Steven Souls. So a lot of guys you feel Cutter Boley, a lot of guys you feel are parts of the solution going forward are sticking around at least for another year. So there's still youth on that roster, but they're again 11 out of 19 are one and dones, and there's a lot of the rest of them are 2-year left. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 3-year guys that they added. The outside linebacker from USC, Sam Green's a 3-year guy. I know, but the rest I think are they're 11 ones, and there's a lot of 2 years. So they're really going all in on this 2025 season, and it's a 2025 season where you have to go to Georgia, you have Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, who's much improved coming in here. I feel like I'm missing. You go to
South Carolina.
Well, you go to South Carolina, which is never a place to play, even when they're bad.
Ole Miss here.
Ole Miss here. That's the one. Yep. Ole Miss here on week 2. So you don't get to ease into things again.
And shoot, Toledo. You better watch.
Andy's not easy anymore because Diego Pavia is back for year 37. And then you also get what's the other road game that they have? Auburn, who a ton of money in the portal and should be much improved. So and beat the crap out of you here when they were terrible. So
better watch Toledo.
Better watch Toledo, who's Chip Trainum's their starting running back. So it's just no. But seriously, they went and beat Mississippi State. So it's just. I don't know if this is the year you really want to go all in, but you have a 13th year head coach, and to me, it's just like. He's setting things up for a last ride. If that's the approach you're going to take, that's how it feels. He'll never admit it. We'll never know that answer until after the Louisville game. But they're on the schedule too, by the way. They're pretty darn good now. So it's just we'll see. I like what they've done. I mean, they 5 new offensive linemen, 4 new starters. I think Jalen Farmer will stay in the starting lineup, and that's it. Start two new starters, 1 at outside linebacker, 1 at the end, 2 starting potential, 1 definitely in David Gusta, and then maybe a second in Jaden Williams on the defensive line interior. Yeah, really the only position group that you might not have a new starter is the secondary, which maybe they'll look to add after the spring if there are any names that are of interest. But outside of that, I mean, your whole wide receiver room, except for Jamori Macklin and Fred Ferrier, are basically new. Your running back room is mostly the same, but you bring in the transfer from Nebraska. Dante Dowell is probably going to start. You're going to have probably a transfer starting at quarterback, and offense line's all new. Tight end, you brought in. You'll probably start Dingle and Caddis, but you brought – or not Dingle. I'm sorry, he's gone. Caddis and Rodriguez, but you brought in a transfer from Illinois. So everywhere you look, there's at least a transfer that's going to play significant snaps, maybe even in the secondary because they brought in the corner from Maryland. So it's a completely new look. They needed to do it, but when it's 11 out of 19 of those guys are 1 year and a lot of the other ones are twos, it feels like you're going all in. It really does. And with the schedule they have, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's up to this coaching staff to utilize it, though, because they did add a lot of good players. There are some really, really good players in this bunch.
That's right. So, man, AFC Championship game, NFC Championship game, before we jump off here.
Well, the NFC Championship game is both of you and I's worst nightmares, given the circumstances.
Yes.
But I'm rooting for Washington. I mean, because I just can't root for Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. I'm at the point where I'm happy for Saquon Barkley and just pissed at the Giants. Like I don't hold a grudge against him at all. I'm just tired of hearing it. Mm-hmm. So Jaden Daniels was a guy I wanted really badly to be the quarterback of the Giants before the start of last season, before his Heisman year. So I really like his game, and I'm rooting for Washington. Philly's probably going to win, but I'm rooting for Washington.
Yeah, I'm bracing for Philly to win, and then this is like for me, this is like the Ohio State Notre Dame game. Don't like either one of them,
but it's got to be worse though.
Yeah, from the NFC East perspective, because you know how petty we are. The whole division.
This is like Tennessee and Louisville for us.
Yes, I think if growing up as a Cowboys fan, you automatically hate the Redskins. Cowboys, Redskins.
Yeah.
But I've for a while, probably because Washington's been so bad for so long, I've started you hate Philly more. And I gave every Eagles fan grief. If you were to meet them, the ones I know, they would tell you, because the NFC East is the most prestigious division in football, more Super Bowls than any division. Percentage of Super Bowls won, you name it. As far as there's 59, and we got almost 25% of them in our division. Up until their one win, they hadn't contributed anything. No, the Eagles contributed nothing. They finally added one, so that but that was my go-to. Throwing shade at Eagles fans. Y'all haven't contributed anything to this prestigious division. So now they've contributed one. I have to still kind of throw up in my mouth a little bit, but I'm going to be pulling for Washington.
No, trust me, I'm not like, let's go Commanders by any means. If the Eagles win, I'm not going to be happy either way. So if the Eagles win, I'm not going to lose sleep over it because both outcomes suck. But yeah, I'm the lesser of two evils right now is Washington.
Yeah, and I'm saying that with our former defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn, up there coaching them, Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Biotish, and Dante Fowler all play for the Cowboys. They all were in Dallas. Well. And so now they're one game away from the Super Bowl. That's, just like you got to watch Saquon possibly go to a Super Bowl. It's just killing us.
Yeah, that hurts. Trust me, I get it. So, either way, and I think it'll be Philly, but you know what? Washington is so hot right now. Anything's possible.
It could be history. We can have a rookie going to the Super Bowl for the first time. That's never happened. And
that'd be awesome. And he's such a likable dude. Like I wish he was less likable because he's on Washington.
Yeah.
So, and then AFC side, look, I'm over the Kansas. I hate Kansas City. Like what they're doing is just so historic, and I know the ref that whatever, but it's crazy what they're doing. I don't really have I just want that game because I think they're the two best teams left. Regardless, I think whoever wins that game will ultimately win it all. I just want the best game possible. I mean, I really do. Like, go to double overtime, like just battle. Like, I just want an all-time classic shootout type game. Two legendary quarterbacks, especially Mahomes. But at the end of the day, we all know it's going to be the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs will win the whole thing. But I prefer Buffalo to win. I'm not. Again, that's another one. I'm not losing sleep, but I just want an awesome football game. That's all I'm asking from that one. No blowout. No game decided going into the fourth.
Yeah, that's it. I don't hate the Bills. I mean, they back when your Giants beat them when the first loss. Scott Norwood. Yeah, Scott Norwood. I felt bad for them even when they lost that one. I always liked Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and Bruce Smith and Reed. I like those guys. I pulled for them to beat Washington the next year after losing to the Giants. And then, of course, when Dallas goes, I have to pull for the Cowboys to beat them back-to-back. So, if Buffalo wins, I won't be hurt. But, again, I'm pulling for history. Yeah. Because we've never had a three-peat.
It's crazy.
Never. So, I wanted USC to three-peat when Texas beat them with Vince Young back in the day. We were that close. Same thing. I hate the Patriots, but I was pulling for them against your Giants because I wanted to see that. I wanted to see 19-0 because we never the 72 Dolphins. I wasn't born, and none of us saw that. That's the whole generation back when the team went undefeated. So I wanted the Patriots to go undefeated to see that history. Your Giants had other plans, and Eli and the fellas said, "Nope, y'all are gonna lose a game." And so now I want to see Kansas City get the three-peat. And if it's so, I'm pulling for Chiefs Commanders. If it's Eagles Bills, that would still be a good matchup. It'd be a good matchup no matter how it comes out. But I hope it's Chiefs and Commanders.
Yeah, I would be fine with that. It's no Eagles.
Yes.
I really don't care. Again, I just want a classic in that AFC game. But I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not. What the Chiefs are doing, it's historic, man. It would be really cool to see, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I want both. At the end of the day, I want both games to be really good. I just hope Philly loses a heartbreaker.
Yeah. So Jaden knows he can beat him. Now he beat him in Washington. He didn't beat him in Philly, but he knows he's come from behind.
He's not afraid of anything.
So he's got that, and we'll see what happens Sunday. So Cats and Vandy, Championship Sunday. Be back next week to talk about what happens in Knoxville as well as we get the little Tennessee two-step deal going through Nashville and Knoxville for the Cats. The women continue to do well.
So good.
Baseball and softball right around the corner. Before we know it, Coach Minge has a ranked squad. I think they're 23rd.
Depending where they look, they're either unranked or at the end of the 20s there. Yep.
And talk about from scratch. He's got a brand new team again, so we'll see how that goes as well. But appreciate everybody just taking the time to check us out. Check out Aaron's work at thecatspause.com. You hear him regularly on the Leach Report and Alan Cutler Show and all those other places where he appears and drops knowledge. Appreciate you doing it here as well. Believe.com, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube page. And look, we'll be back next week doing all this again. So stay safe, stay warm, go Cats, live in Kentucky. See everybody next week.